Commander Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold metal of the observation deck, watching the massive alien fleet stretch across the void like a constellation of death. 300 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built, hung motionless in space around Earth's moon. For 6 months, they had waited there, silent and ominous, while every government on Earth scrambled to understand what they wanted. The answer came in the form of a single transmission that made Sarah's blood run cold. "We demand the return of our children. You have 24 hours to comply, or your species will be exterminated." Sarah rubbed her temples, feeling the weight of humanity's survival pressing down on her shoulders. As the commanding officer of humanity's first and only interstellar defense platform, she had trained for alien contact, but nothing had prepared her for this. The message made no sense. Humanity had never encountered aliens before, let alone taken their children. "Commander, we're receiving another transmission," Lieutenant Torres called from the communications station. His voice carried the same tension that had gripped the entire crew since the fleet arrived. "Put it through," Sarah commanded, straightening her uniform. The main screen flickered to life, revealing something that defied every expectation she had harbored about first contact. The alien leader was unmistakably feminine, standing nearly 8 feet tall with elegant features that seemed carved from living crystal. Her skin shimmered with an opalescent quality that shifted between deep purple and silver as she moved. 4 arms extended from her torso, each ending in delicate hands that looked more suited to creating art than waging war. But it was her eyes that struck Sarah most deeply. Ancient, intelligent, and filled with a maternal rage that transcended species. "I am Queen Thessarian of the Veilthek Empire," the alien spoke, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in Sarah's bones. "For the last time, I demand the return of my children. Your species has committed an act of war by harboring them against their will." Sarah stepped forward, her hands raised in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Your Majesty, I'm Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. I assure you, we have no knowledge of any alien children on Earth. There must be some mistake." "AR, Engar, AR." The Queen's eyes flared with an inner light that made Sarah instinctively step back. "Mistake?" The word dripped with contempt. "My children went missing 3 years ago during a diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim. Our sensors have tracked their biosignatures to this system, to your world. Do not insult my intelligence with denials." 3 years ago? Sarah's mind raced. 3 years ago? Humanity had launched the first successful faster-than-light expedition beyond the solar system. The crew of the exploration ship Prometheus had returned with tales of empty star systems and lifeless worlds. They had found no signs of intelligent life, no alien children. "Your Majesty, our records show no contact with any alien species until your arrival 6 months ago. If your children are on Earth, we genuinely don't know how they got there, or where they might be." Queen Thessarian's expression shifted from rage to something more complex, a mixture of hope and suspicion that made her appear almost vulnerable. "You truly claim ignorance?" "Not. I swear to you, we have no knowledge of your children. But I give you my word as a representative of humanity. If they are on our world, we will find them and return them to you safely." The Queen studied Sarah for a long moment, her 4 arms moving in what might have been a gesture of consideration. "Very well, human. I will grant you additional time to locate my offspring. But know this: if any harm has come to them, if they have been experimented upon or mistreated in any way, I will personally ensure that your species experiences pain beyond comprehension." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving Sarah staring at a blank screen. Around her, the bridge crew sat in stunned silence. Finally, Lieutenant Torres cleared his throat. "Commander, what's our next move?" Sarah turned from the screen, her mind already formulating a plan. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command. We need to launch the most comprehensive search in human history. Check every government facility, every research lab, every military installation on the planet. If there are alien children on Earth, we're going to find them." And if we don't find them? Torres asked quietly. Sarah looked back at the view screen, imagining the massive fleet waiting beyond. Then we'd better pray that Queen Thessarian is more reasonable than she appears, because 300 ships against our 12 platforms isn't going to end well for humanity. As the crew scrambled to coordinate the search, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The Queen's certainty had been absolute. She knew her children were on Earth. But how was that possible when humanity had no record of alien contact? The answer, when it came 6 hours later, arrived in the form of a priority transmission from Dr. Elizabeth Hawkins, director of the Classified Xenobiology Research Division, hidden beneath the Nevada desert. Commander Chen, I need to speak with you immediately. It's about the Queen's children. We need to talk. Sarah felt her stomach drop. Dr. Hawkins, please tell me you're not about to confirm my worst fears. There was a long pause before Hawkins responded. I'm afraid I am, Commander. We've had them for 3 years. But the situation is far more complicated than you can imagine. As Sarah prepared for what might be the most important conversation in human history, she couldn't help but wonder if Queen Thessarian's rage was justified. If humanity had indeed been holding alien children captive for 3 years, then perhaps they deserved whatever consequences were coming. But first, she needed to understand exactly what Dr. Hawkins and her team had done. Because if there was any hope of preventing a war that would annihilate humanity, it lay in the details of a secret that had been hidden from the world for 3 long years. The transmission from Dr. Hawkins came through on a secured channel that required Sarah's personal authorization codes. As the encryption protocols engaged, Sarah felt a growing dread that whatever she was about to learn would change everything. Dr. Hawkins, you have 60 seconds to explain why you've been hiding alien children from the rest of humanity while their mother threatens to exterminate our species. The woman who appeared on screen looked haggard, her gray hair unkempt and dark circles under her eyes, suggesting she hadn't slept in days. Behind her, Sarah could see what appeared to be a sterile laboratory environment with sophisticated equipment humming in the background. Commander, 3 years ago, the crew of the Prometheus didn't just explore empty star systems. They found a damaged alien vessel drifting in the void, life support failing. Inside were 5 alien juveniles, unconscious and dying. Captain Morrison made the decision to bring them aboard and attempt a rescue. Sarah's hands clenched involuntarily. And then what, Doctor? You decided to hide them instead of announcing first contact to the world? Dr. Hawkins shook her head vigorously. It wasn't that simple. When we brought them to Earth, they were in critical condition. Their physiology was unlike anything we'd ever seen. We had to build entirely new medical systems just to keep them alive. By the time we stabilized them, we realized they weren't just alien children. They were something extraordinary. Extraordinary how? They're not just intelligent, Commander. They're connected to technology in ways that defy our understanding of biology. Their neural patterns can interface directly with quantum computers. Their genetic structure contains information that could revolutionize medicine, energy production, even space travel itself. We've learned more about advanced physics in the last 3 years than in the previous century. Sarah felt a cold fury building in her chest. You've been experimenting on children, Dr. Hawkins. Alien children whose mother commands a fleet capable of reducing Earth to cosmic dust. We haven't hurt them, Dr. Hawkins protested. We've cared for them, protected them, learned from them. They've been willing participants in our research. They understand the value of scientific advancement. They understand? Sarah's voice rose despite her efforts to remain calm. They're children, Doctor. Children who've been separated from their family for 3 years, while you played scientist with their biology. Dr. Hawkins' expression hardened. Those children represent the greatest opportunity in human history. Do you have any idea what we could accomplish with their knowledge? We could solve climate change, eliminate disease, reach the stars themselves. Humanity could become something greater than we ever imagined. At what cost? Sarah demanded. Their mother is out there preparing to wage war against our entire species. How do you think she's going to react when she learns that we've been studying her children like laboratory specimens? For the first time, Dr. Hawkins looked uncertain. We hoped we could complete our research before anyone came looking for them. The knowledge we've gained, it's invaluable. Surely any reasonable species would understand the benefit of scientific advancement. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of an impossible decision settling on her shoulders. On one hand, humanity faced extinction at the hands of an alien fleet. On the other, Dr. Hawkins seemed to believe that the alien children represented humanity's ticket to a golden age of technological advancement. Doctor, I need you to prepare those children for immediate transport to this station. We're returning them to their mother. Commander, you don't understand what you're giving up. These children could be the key to humanity's future among the stars. Their knowledge Their knowledge belongs to them and their people, not to us, Sarah interrupted. We've committed a grave crime by holding them, regardless of our intentions. The only way to prevent a war is to return them immediately and hope their mother is capable of mercy. Dr. Hawkins leaned forward, her eyes burning with scientific fervor. Commander, give me just a few more days. We're on the verge of a breakthrough in quantum consciousness transfer. With their help, we could upload human minds into quantum substrates, achieve functional immortality. Surely that's worth the risk. Doctor, you're talking about experimenting on children to achieve immortality. Do you hear yourself? How did we become the monsters in this scenario? The question hung in the air between them. Dr. Hawkins seemed to deflate slightly, some of the fervor fading from her expression. For the first time, she appeared to truly consider the moral implications of what she had done. They never seemed unhappy, she said quietly. They were curious about our world, eager to share their knowledge. I thought we were helping each other. They're children far from home, Sarah replied gently. Of course they tried to make the best of their situation. That doesn't mean they wanted to be here, and it certainly doesn't give us the right to keep them. Sarah could see the internal struggle playing out across Dr. Hawkins' features. 3 years of groundbreaking research. Discoveries that could transform human civilization. All about to be abandoned. For the sake of returning 5 alien children to their mother. Commander, what if we explained the situation to Queen Thessarian? What if we offered to share our research, to work together? Surely, she would see the value in scientific collaboration. Sarah thought about the rage and maternal fury she had seen in the Queen's eyes. Dr. Hawkins, if someone had taken your children and held them for 3 years while conducting experiments, how would you react to an offer of scientific collaboration? The question silenced any further protests. Dr. Hawkins nodded slowly, her shoulders sagging in defeat. The children will be ready for transport within 2 hours. Commander, for what it's worth, they spoke of their mother often. They love her deeply. As the transmission ended, Sarah found herself staring at her reflection in the dark screen. In just a few hours, she would have to face Queen Thessarian again, this time with the knowledge that humanity had indeed been holding her children captive. The question now was whether the Queen's love for her offspring would prove stronger than her desire for vengeance. Sarah had a feeling she was about to discover just how far a mother's fury could reach across the stars. The transport shuttle carrying Queen Thessarian's children docked with the defense platform exactly 2 hours later. Sarah stood in the docking bay, her hands clasped behind her back to hide their trembling. Behind her, a full diplomatic honor guard waited in formation. Though she wondered if military protocol meant anything to a species that could traverse the galaxy. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, and Sarah got her first glimpse of the alien children who had unknowingly brought humanity to the brink of extinction. They were smaller than their mother but unmistakably of the same species. Their crystalline skin held a softer luminescence, shifting through gentle blues and greens rather than the deeper purples and silvers of Queen Thessarian. Each child possessed the same 4 arms, though theirs moved with the boundless energy of youth rather than the measured grace of royalty. The eldest, who appeared to be roughly equivalent to a human teenager, stepped forward first. When he spoke, His voice carried the same harmonic qualities as his mother's, but with a lighter, more musical tone. "You must be Commander Chen. Dr. Hawkins told us you were the one who decided to send us home." He paused, his large eyes studying Sarah's face with an intelligence that seemed far older than his apparent age. "We are grateful, but we are also concerned about what our mother might do to your people." Sarah knelt down to bring herself closer to the child's eye level, a gesture that seemed to surprise him. "What's your name?" "I am called Zephyr, in your language. These are my siblings: Nova, Stellar, Cosmos, and Little Orbit." He gestured to each of the other children in turn. The youngest, Orbit, couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 in human equivalent years, and was staring at Sarah with unconcealed fascination. "Zephyr, I want you to know that what happened to you and your siblings was wrong. Humans should have returned you to your family immediately when we found you. I'm sorry for the pain we've caused." The young alien tilted his head in a gesture that was remarkably human-like. "Commander Chen, we were not mistreated. Dr. Hawkins and her team cared for us when we were dying. They saved our lives and became our friends. We do not wish for them to be harmed because of us." Sarah felt her chest tighten. Even now, these children were more concerned about the humans who had essentially kidnapped them than their own welfare. "That's very kind of you, Zephyr, but your mother has every right to be angry with us. We took you from her when you needed her most." "Our mother," Nova spoke for the first time, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is she very angry?" Before Sarah could answer, the docking bay's communication system crackled to life. "Commander Chen, Queen Thessarian is requesting immediate transport to your location. She wishes to reunite with her children personally." Sarah stood slowly, her mind racing. Having an alien queen aboard a human space station was a security nightmare, but refusing her request would likely trigger the very war they were trying to prevent. "Grant her request. Full diplomatic protocols. And make sure our weapons systems are powered down completely." 20 minutes later, the bay filled with a soft, ethereal light as Queen Thessarian's personal shuttle arrived. Unlike the utilitarian human vessels, her craft seemed to be grown rather than built, its organic curves flowing like liquid metal through space. The Queen emerged from her shuttle with the measured grace of nobility, but Sarah could see the tension in every line of her body. Her forearms moved in complex patterns that might have been a form of communication or simply nervous energy. Her eyes swept the docking bay until they found her children, and in that moment, Sarah witnessed a transformation that took her breath away. The regal mask fell away completely. Queen Thessarian rushed forward with a cry that was purely maternal, her arms opening wide to embrace all 5 children at once. The sound she made was unlike anything Sarah had ever heard, part song, part sob, entirely heartbreaking in its raw emotion. The children responded with equal intensity, their own voices joining their mothers in a harmony that seemed to make the air itself vibrate with joy and relief. Orbit, the youngest, climbed up his mother's body with the unconscious ease of a child who had done so countless times before, while the others pressed close around her. For several minutes, the Queen seemed to forget that anyone else existed. She held her children, examined them for injuries, whispered to them in her own language, with a tenderness that made Sarah's eyes water. When she finally looked up at Sarah, her expression had changed completely. "You returned them unharmed," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Dr. Hawkins' report was accurate. They are healthy and well cared for." Sarah nodded, not trusting herself to speak. The reunion before her was beautiful and heartbreaking in equal measure, and she couldn't help but think of her own daughter back on Earth. Queen Thessarian gently disentangled herself from her children and stood to her full, impressive height. "Commander Chen, I owe you an apology. My anger blinded me to the possibility that your species might be capable of compassion and honor. Your Majesty, you have nothing to apologize for. Any parent would react the same way to their children being taken. The fault lies entirely with us." The Queen shook her head, her opalescent skin shifting to softer hues. "No, Commander. There is much you do not understand about our situation." She looked down at her children, who had gathered around her feet, like satellites around a star. Zephyr, tell Commander Chen about the accident. The eldest child stepped forward, his young face grave with responsibility. Commander, our ship did not just suffer mechanical failure. We were fleeing. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Fleeing from what? From the Devourers, Zephyr replied, and Sarah could hear the fear in his voice despite his attempt to remain composed. They attacked our home system while our mother was away on a diplomatic mission. We were evacuated, but our escort was destroyed. We barely escaped in a damaged ship. Queen Thessarian's expression hardened, her maternal softness replaced by something far more dangerous. The Devourers are a machine intelligence, Commander Chen. They consume organic life and convert it into raw energy to fuel their expansion across the galaxy. They have been moving systematically through our region of space, destroying everything in their path. Sarah felt the bottom drop out of her stomach. How many systems have they taken? 1. Sarah, first time. 17, in the past 4 years, including my homeworld. The Queen's voice carried a pain that transcended species barriers. My people are scattered refugees now, fleeing ahead of an enemy that cannot be reasoned with or deterred. But your fleet, Sarah protested. 300 ships. Surely that's enough to fight back? Queen Thessarian's laugh was bitter and hollow. Those ships contain the last survivors of my empire, Commander. Civilians mostly. Children, elders, scientists, and artists. We have perhaps 50 vessels, capable of combat, and even those are outmatched by Devourer technology. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. You came here looking for your children because they are the future of our species, the Queen finished. And because I believed that your people had taken them for experimentation or slavery, I was prepared to sacrifice everything to get them back. She paused, her eyes meeting Sarah's directly. I still am. Me. Zephyr moved closer to his mother, his small hand taking one of her larger ones. Mother, the humans did not capture us. They saved us, and they have learned much from our presence here. Yes, Queen Thessarian said quietly. Dr. Hawkins has shared some of your research. I must admit, your species has made remarkable progress in understanding our technology. Sarah felt heat rise in her cheeks. Your Majesty, I want you to know that Dr. Hawkins acted without authorization. If we had known your children were on Earth, we would have found a way to contact you immediately. Would you? The Queen asked, and there was genuine curiosity in her voice. Your species is young, Commander Chen. You have only just begun to reach beyond your own star. The knowledge my children carry could advance your civilization by thousands of years. Many species would not have been so quick to return such an advantage. We're not many species, Sarah replied firmly. We're human, and humans don't hold children hostage, no matter what advantages they might provide. For the first time since her arrival, Queen Thessarian smiled. It was a stunning expression, transforming her alien features into something beautiful and warm. I believe you mean that, Commander, which is why I must ask something of you that goes against every instinct I possess. What do you need? I need your help, the Queen said simply. The Devourers are 3 months behind us, moving through space like a plague. When they arrive in this system, they will not distinguish between my people and yours. They will consume everything. Sarah felt her breath catch. 3 months? At most. And Commander, you need to understand something else. The Devourers are not just machines. They learn from everything they consume. Every species they destroy adds to their knowledge, their adaptive capabilities. By now, they may be more powerful than when they first attacked my homeworld. Orbit, the youngest child, tugged on his mother's arm. When Queen Thessarian knelt down, he whispered something in their musical language. The Queen's expression grew thoughtful. My youngest reminds me of something important, she said, standing again. During their time with your scientists, my children learned much about human nature. They tell me that humans possess something my people have lost in our centuries of advanced civilization. What's that? the ability to fight impossible odds and find ways to win. Hawkins showed them recordings of your history. How humans have repeatedly faced extinction and survived through courage, ingenuity, and sheer stubborn refusal to give up. Sarah looked around the docking bay at her crew, then back at the alien queen and her children. You want us to fight alongside you against these devourers. I want to give my children a chance at a future, Queen Thessarian replied. And I believe that future may depend on combining the wisdom of my people with the warrior spirit of yours. As if summoned by her words, Lieutenant Torres's voice crackled over the comm system. Commander, we're receiving multiple signals from the edge of the system. Long-range sensors are detecting something big heading our way. ETA. Approximately 3 months. Sarah and Queen Thessarian locked eyes, and in that moment, they both understood that their conversation had just shifted from diplomacy to war planning. The Devourers were coming. And humanity's first alien alliance would have to be forged in the fires of a battle for survival that neither species could win alone. 3 months later, Sarah stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned battleship Defiance, watching the edge of the solar system through enhanced sensors. Around her, a combined fleet of human and Veilthek vessels hung in space like a metal constellation, representing the most ambitious military cooperation in the history of both species. The alliance had not been easy to forge. Earth's governments had initially balked at the idea of sharing advanced technology with aliens, while many Veilthek refugees had questioned their queen's decision to trust such a young and violent species. But the approaching threat of the Devourers had focused minds wonderfully, and within weeks, the two civilizations were working together with desperate efficiency. Contact on long-range sensors, Lieutenant Torres announced, his voice tense but steady. Multiple bogies. Approaching from Galactic North. Estimate. My God! There are thousands of them. Sarah felt her stomach clench, but forced her voice to remain calm. Put it on the main screen. The display flickered to life, showing a sight that would haunt Sarah's dreams for years to come. The Devourer fleet stretched across space like a metallic infection, each vessel a grotesque fusion of organic curves and mechanical angles. They moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single vast intelligence. How many? Sarah asked quietly. Preliminary count shows over 5,000 vessels, Commander, Torres replied. They range from frigate-sized scouts to... Christ. That thing in the center has to be the size of a small moon. Queen Thessarian's voice came through the communication system from her flagship, the Eternal Song. Commander Chen, you are seeing what remains of 17 civilizations. Every ship they have consumed, every technology they have absorbed, has been incorporated into their fleet. Sarah activated her command channel, broadcasting to every ship in their combined fleet. All vessels, this is Commander Chen. Today, we face an enemy that has consumed worlds and civilizations beyond counting. They believe we are just 2 more species to be added to their collection. They are wrong. She paused, looking out at the human and alien ships arrayed around her. In the past 3 months, she had watched human engineers work alongside Veilthek technicians to create weapon systems that neither species could have built alone. She had seen her own daughter, now serving as a junior officer aboard the science vessel Discovery, learn to speak the musical language of their alien allies. The Devourers see only numbers and resources. They cannot understand what they truly face. Because when humanity fights, we don't just fight for ourselves. We fight for our children, our future. And now, we fight for our friends among the stars. All ships, prepare for engagement. The Devourer fleet began to accelerate, their vessels taking formations that spoke of machine precision and cold calculation. But Sarah noticed something that gave her the first spark of hope she'd felt in months. Your Majesty, she called to Queen Thessarian. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Yes, came the reply, tinged with surprise. They are approaching as they always have. The same formations. The same tactics they used against my homeworld. They have not adapted their strategy. Sarah smiled grimly. That's because they've never faced humans before. Mr. Torres, initiate Protocol Omega. Protocol Omega activated, Commander. All human vessels are weapons-free. What happened next would later be studied in military academies across a dozen star systems. The human ships suddenly broke formation, scattering in seemingly random directions. To the devourers, accustomed to the orderly tactics of advanced civilizations, the human response appeared to be panicked flight. They were catastrophically wrong. The human ships weren't fleeing. They were hunting. Using tactics developed in Earth's bloodiest conflicts, they struck at the edges of the Devourer formation with hit-and-run attacks, then vanished into the asteroid fields and gas clouds that littered the outer system. Each strike was small, seemingly insignificant, but together they began to have a cumulative effect. Devourer fleet is fragmenting, Torres reported with barely contained excitement. They're trying to pursue our strike groups. Now they've made their first mistake, Sarah murmured. Your Majesty. Execute Phase 2. The Valtech vessels, which had been hanging back in apparent defensiveness, suddenly surged forward with their superior speed and maneuverability. But instead of engaging the main Devourer force, they struck at the scattered pursuit groups with concentrated firepower that their quantum-enhanced weapons made devastatingly effective. Caught between the human guerrilla tactics and the Valtech technology, the Devourer fleet found itself fighting a kind of war it had never encountered. Every adaptive response they made to counter one species' tactics left them vulnerable to the other. Commander, Torres called out. The big one, in the center, is moving. That moon-sized vessel is heading straight for Earth. Sarah felt ice in her veins. The massive command ship was ignoring the battle entirely, plunging toward humanity's homeworld with single-minded purpose. All ships, break off and intercept the command vessel. We cannot let it reach Earth. All, Welv, Wall, 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 Wall. Commander. Queen Thessarian's voice carried new urgency. That ship contains the core intelligence of the Devourer Collective. If it reaches your world and begins consumption, it will become exponentially more powerful. Sarah made a decision that she knew might doom them all. Your Majesty, take your people and continue the fight against the main fleet. Humanity will handle the big one. Commander, that vessel destroyed my homeworld. Your ships cannot. Your Majesty, Sarah interrupted gently. You've seen our history. When humans are backed into a corner, when we're protecting something we love, we become something more than the sum of our parts. Trust us. There was a long pause before Queen Thessarian responded. Very well, Commander Chen. But know that if humanity falls today, my people will remember your sacrifice until the stars grow cold. The human fleet raced toward the massive Devourer command ship, their vessels looking like insects challenging a whale. As they approached, the enemy vessel's surface opened to reveal weapons systems of unimaginable power. Beams of energy lashed out, vaporizing 3 human destroyers instantly. Evasive maneuvers, Sarah commanded. All ships, implement Wellington Protocol, named after the Duke who had defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. The Wellington Protocol was humanity's answer to facing superior firepower. Instead of meeting strength with strength, the human ships used their enemy's power against them. The fleet spread out in a loose formation, presenting multiple small targets instead of a concentrated mass. When the Devourer weapons fired, the human ships used their smaller size and superior maneuverability to ensure the massive energy beams struck empty space, or, even better, other parts of the enemy vessel itself. It's working, Torres shouted. The command ship's own weapons are causing hull breaches, but their small victory was short-lived. The Devourer vessel began to adapt, its weapons adjusting their firing patterns to account for human tactics. Sarah watched helplessly as 2 more ships were destroyed, their crews lost in bursts of superheated plasma. Commander, came a young voice over the communication system. This is Science Vessel Discovery. We think we've found a weakness. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. That was her daughter's ship. Discovery. This is the flagship. What have you found? The command ship's adaptive systems are biological in nature, but they're integrated with quantum processors stolen from Veilthek technology. The integration isn't perfect. There's a feedback loop that creates a vulnerable resonance frequency. Sarah looked at the massive enemy vessel, her mind racing. What do you need to exploit it? We need to get close enough to scan the quantum signature, then coordinate our attacks to match that frequency. But Commander, the ship that does the scanning will have to get within the enemy's defensive perimeter. It will be a suicide run. Negative. Discovery. Find another way. Commander. Her daughter's voice came back, steady and determined. There is no other way. And ma'am, this is what humans do. Sarah felt tears burning in her eyes, but she forced her voice to remain steady. Understood. Discovery. All ships, prepare to support the science vessel's approach. What followed was the most concentrated display of human courage and determination Sarah had ever witnessed. Every ship in the fleet threw themselves between the Discovery and the Devourer weapons, absorbing devastating fire to protect the small science vessel as it raced toward the enemy command ship. The Discovery reached the optimal scanning position just as its escort was overwhelmed. Sarah watched her daughter's ship disappear in a ball of enemy fire. But not before the quantum signature was transmitted to the entire fleet. All ships, Sarah's voice carried across the communication network, thick with grief but burning with rage. Target acquired. For the Discovery. For humanity. For every world these monsters have consumed. Fire everything we have. The human fleet opened fire with every weapon they possessed. Their attacks now tuned to the precise frequency that would disrupt the Devourer command ship systems. The effect was immediate and devastating. The massive vessel's hull began to buckle and collapse as its own technology turned against it. But the Devourers had one final surprise. As their command ship died, it transmitted a signal that caused every remaining Devourer vessel to converge on Earth's location. They intended to consume the planet, even if it meant their own destruction. Commander, Queen Thessarian's voice crackled over the communication system. The remaining Devourer fleet is heading for your world. My people are moving to intercept. But there are too many. Sarah looked at the tactical display, watching hundreds of enemy ships racing toward Earth, while her battered fleet limped back from their victory over the command vessel. They would never reach Earth in time. But then something extraordinary happened. New contacts began appearing on the sensors. Ships launching from Earth itself. The planet's entire merchant marine had been hastily armed with whatever weapons could be mounted. Civilian transports, cargo haulers, even pleasure craft bristling with improvised weapons systems. Commander Chen. Came a transmission from Earth. This is Admiral Rodriguez of Earth Defense Command. Every human who can hold a weapon is coming to join this fight. The Devourers want to see what humanity is capable of? Let's show them. The space around Earth became a cauldron of battle as ships from across human civilization converged to defend their homeworld. Freighter captains rammed Devourer vessels, twice their size. Luxury yacht owners strapped mining charges to their hulls and became suicide bombers. Even the orbital construction platforms joined the fight. Their industrial tools converted into weapons of desperate creativity. And through it all, the Veilthek fleet fought alongside them. Queen Thessarian's ships weaving through the chaos with graceful precision, their advanced weapons cutting through enemy formations like a conductor, directing a symphony of destruction. When the last Devourer ship finally fell, spinning dead and broken against the backdrop of stars, a strange silence fell over the solar system. Sarah found herself floating in her command chair, her ship's artificial gravity failing along with most of its other systems. Around her, the bridge crew stared at their displays in exhausted disbelief. "Status report," she managed to croak. "Devourer fleet is gone, Commander," Torres replied, his own voice barely a whisper. "All enemy vessels destroyed or disabled. But our losses," Sarah closed her eyes. She already knew. Nearly two-thirds of the human fleet had been lost, including her daughter's ship. The cost of victory had been almost unbearable. Commander Chen, Queen Thessarian's voice came through the communication system, gentler now than Sarah had ever heard it. My people owe yours a debt that can never be repaid. You have saved not just your own world, but every world the Devourers would have consumed in their path across the galaxy. Sarah opened her eyes, looking out at the debris field that marked the site of humanity's first interstellar war. Your Majesty. What happens now? Now, Commander, we build something new. Your species has proven that the universe still holds surprises, still contains the potential for hope. My people would be honored to call humans our allies, our friends, our family among the stars. As rescue ships began moving through the battlefield, searching for survivors and salvaging what could be saved, Sarah thought about her daughter and all the others who had died to preserve not just humanity, but the very concept of freedom in a universe that had seemed destined to fall to mechanical tyranny. They had lost so much, but they had also gained something precious. Proof that when different species stood together, when they combined their unique strengths and perspectives, they could face any challenge the universe might offer. Queen Thessarian had asked what humans had done to her children. The answer, Sarah realized, was simple. They had shown them what it meant to be part of a family that extended beyond species, beyond worlds, beyond anything the universe had seen before, and in return, humanity had found its place among the stars.